something I do all.
Hello everybody, thank you for coming on a dark, cold November night. It's great to see you all. At Freyja's book launch. First I'd like to introduce Dominic Taylor, the director of Limerick Writers Centre, and of course that was where it all began, in a competition at the Writers Centre, and he'll tell you more about that.
Fiona. Ladies and gentlemen, guests and book lovers, of course. Tonight we celebrate and introduce Freyja Hellebust, a writer who not only represents the vibrant state of contemporary Irish fiction, but also embodies the spirit of creativity and perseverance that defines our literary landscape. Her book, Head First from a Height, is not just a book, but a profound commitment to the literary community. The Limerick Writers Centre has always believed that publishing is far more than a commercial transaction. It's about creating connections, nurturing voices, and building a vibrant literary ecosystem that extends far beyond the pages of any single book. Our mission has always been to democratise storytelling. We see publishing as a collective endeavour, where every writer, regardless of background, has the potential to contribute to Ireland's rich literary mosaic. Freyja Hellebust's journey embodies this ideal. From a young writer winning competitions at 14 to now standing here with her debut novel, she represents the collective spirit of Irish literature. Head First from a Height is more than a novel. It's a testament to our belief that great writing emerges through community support, through competitions that spotlight emergent talent, through workshops that polish raw potential, and through events like tonight that celebrate each writer's unique voice. The Gerald Griffin Competition for First Adult Fiction symbolises our commitment to this vision. Named after a legendary Limerick writer, it continues a tradition of identifying and elevating new literary talent. We're not just publishing books, we're creating pathways for writers to connect, learn, and grow. Our centre sees each book as a conversation between writer and reader, between different generations of storytellers, between the local and the universal. Freyja's novel represents this dialogue. To Freyja, to the writing community, and to everyone who believes in the transformative power of stories, this launch is a celebration of our shared literary journey. We're also immensely proud to say that this is the 186th title we have published since we began our community publishing project in 2009. I have no doubt that Head First from a Height will resonate with readers of all ages and backgrounds, and I'm incredibly proud to have been part of bringing this wonderful book to the world, and I have no doubt that it will leave an impact on all who read it. Thank you for joining us tonight at this book launch, and I hope you enjoy delving into the world of Head First from a Height. Goramahagat.
Thank you very much, Dominic. And now I'd like to call upon Niamh Prior to launch the book. Niamh is known to a lot of people around Kinsale for her poetry, for her encouragement of young people in the arts, because Freyja first met her when she did some transition. I was going to say transition town. Hi, Liz. Transition year classes for the kids in community school. Niamh first studied English and film in London, and then she did creative writing at UCC, ended up with a doctorate, which was sponsored by the Irish Research Council. She's published a lot in journals, including Stinging Fly, and her novel Catchlights was out in 2022. Thank you, Niamh.
So hi everyone, and welcome to the launch of the rather wonderful book Head First from Hellebust. So I don't need to introduce myself now, do I? So first of all, I'd just like to take you back a few years to 2017, and I spent a day in Kinsale Community School doing creative writing workshops with transition year students, and it was the workshops were run by the Words by Water Literary Festival, and after the workshops the students had the opportunity to enter a competition, and I had the great pleasure of judging that competition as well. And the winning piece was a mysterious, strange, otherworldly, very distinctive and accomplished piece called Midnight and Soul, and I'd like to share its opening with you. Centuries of history lie beneath his skin. They lurk, heavy, invisible until it really matters. The weight of them presses down on his shoulders and drags his gaze to the floor, but he is used to the burden and carries it with pride. He likes the gentle, lilting words that taste like home. He likes how he can make them fast and sharp-edged, almost brutal in their delivery. They are not as formal here as where he is from. There are rituals, but he buries them. Not so deeply that they cannot be dredged up, but he keeps them deep underneath the dirty cement he was raised from. Sometimes they resurface from their murky hiding places and tangle about him like the telephone wires of his city. He's used to this too, and he wears them like bracelets, dainty silver things that he buys because he likes the feeling of being able to afford them. So, of course, after reading that, I was pretty intrigued about its author. I mean, like, who was this 16-year-old who wrote a ghost story set in Korea?
Yeah.
So I think you've probably guessed by now who that writer was. Anyway. So needless to say, I am not at all surprised that 7 years and roughly 2 months later we find ourselves at that same person's book launch. Nor am I surprised that this same person won the Owen Murray Memorial Bursary for Creative Writing at UCC, as well as the Gerald Griffin First Fiction Prize run by Limerick Writers Centre, which led to the publication of this book. And of course, I don't need to point out that to be published at such a young age and at the same time studying for a degree, and not even one in English, is one heck of an achievement. In fact, I actually have a very strong feeling that at some point in the future, in a less than modest moment, I will find myself name dropping into conversation that I launched Freyja Hellebust's first book. And what a debut it is. So usually when I'm reading a book that I'm enjoying, I'll have a little bunch of these paper sticky tabs with me so that I can stick them in pages when I'm really, taken by a line or a phrase. So I did that for the first few pages, and after that I realised it was futile. If I had to put a sticky tab in for every phrase that impressed or amused me, the book would look like a pom-pom. This book is so full of sentences that are sensuous, funny, original and insightful. So I copied some of them out because I couldn't help myself but do that, and I was really tempted to read them out tonight, but I'm refraining because I want you to go and read them and experience them for yourselves. There is a pulse, an electricity running through the prose and the characters in Head First from a Height. And I don't know how Hellebust did it, but the prose is slow and full of Proustian expansion of moments, and yet at the same time the book is a total page turner. I genuinely did not want to put this book down when I started reading it. I kept running away from chores to pick it up again and read it, and on more than one occasion I found myself sitting on the stairs reading it when I was supposed to be going up or down to do something. So the book is it's full of perceptive and often humorous observations and insights into human nature. While it's set in Spain, the flashbacks to Ireland conjure that place just as brilliantly in contrast. and the backstories smoothly reveal unexpected layers to the characters. Head First from a Height is an experience in voyeurism, though we're not so much looking at the characters as we are seeing out from inside them. And we're not just inside their heads, but inside their bodies too. Most notably for me, Hellebust has ensured that her readers get to feel and taste every little bit of every hangover every one of her characters endures. So unfortunately, Freyja wasn't able to make it to the prize giving for that Words by Water competition when she was 16 years old. So I wasn't able to congratulate her in person then, so I'm very, very glad to be doing this right now. And on that night, back in 2017, because she was absent, I read her piece out to the audience. Thankfully, she is here this evening. And I'll just hand you over to Fiona to introduce Freyja.
Thank you so much, Niamh, for those lovely, well-chosen words, and how fabulous that you were able to look up that piece. Really lovely. What can I say? I think it's been said. So, Freyja, if you'd like to read a bit.
Everyone for coming, thanks so much, and thank you to Niamh for that lovely introduction. I hope I can live up to it. So the novella is set in Spain. It's an Irish woman who goes on holidays to Spain, so I'm going to read a few minutes from chapter 1 where we first meet the main character. Janine is sunburnt. She's eating an orange on the balcony. The juice is running down her arm. Sticky rivulets collecting in the crook of her elbow. The sunburn is old and has since deepened and bloomed, tightened and started peeling. It's spread across her back, save for the lines of her bikini top. The oranges here are ridiculous, sweet and dripping. She doesn't even have them normally. The balcony is red tile, too hot to walk on barefoot. She'd scalded her soles the first time she came out here, unthinking on the first morning. She's not made for the heat, but she soaks it up anyway, like a cold-blooded thing regaining movement. She's been drinking hot coffee in the mornings, bitter espresso, and hot tea in the deep blue evenings. She's trying to thaw herself out after the grey want of winter. She's been pale for months, brittle and teary, humourless. So now the orange, her second of the day. She lets her arms get tacky with it. It doesn't bother her now the way it always has. Spits the pips out into her ceramic saucer. Focuses on the sweetness on her tongue, coating the inside of her mouth, the way it thickens her spit. She's got a book splayed out, keeping her company. She's ignoring it in favour of watching the still world, like a cat keeping an eye on the back garden. There's a bar across the street from her. The balcony's the perfect vantage point, from which to stare at the Spanish boys, who all smoke and yell delightedly, perched on their wrought metal chairs. It's too early for the gorgeous boys, though. The afternoon's still only taking off, and no one sitting out now is anything to look at. She's here alone and talks to no one. No one's here with her, because like syrup tapped out of a tree, she has no talk in her anymore. Or she talks to waiters, bartenders, women scooping ice cream, women selling soaps in markets, the pharmacist when she went in for sun cream, the woman who works the till and spar, an old English couple seated by her in a tapas restaurant. Between all these people, she has time to take things in and hope for nothing. Cherries, she's noticing. The peaches. All these pink, red, orange fruits, seasonal and soft, heavy with juice, sitting out in green plastic crates. The nights are when loneliness is most awful. Solitude in the summer sun is not so bad. She has Lipton iced tea, powdered beignets, the occasional Aperol spritz, half pints, a sandwich on the beach. But in the close darkness of her bedroom, that thick conditioned air, things are different. People are partying. The streets sing distantly, and women laugh in the hallway. She, in her room of shadows, is missing out. She stays out as long as she can to avoid this, but the hot blue night is not magical or pine-scented enough for her to forget her singledom, her woman shape and woman weakness. Now, in this early afternoon, after a late breakfast, after a milky coffee, slurping down the orange, she's not missing out. She's going to be part of the world and go to the beach. The beach here is not like at home, the pale sand gone wet and heavy with rain and foamy grey waves, people in wetsuits, determined specks in the sea. Here it's a different thing. Sprawling bodies, sandy and glistening, glowing red and peeling. Kids running, crying, eating crisps out of plastic bowls. No one cares she's here by herself. She's not the only one. Lone girls, old men, reading and melting into sleep. The sea, azure and filthy, full of supermodel couples, pontoons, leaping teenagers. Women with sunglasses, perched atop dark updos, swaying with the huge soft waves. Not her own furious Atlantic, full of wailing shipwrecks and slimy bones, but the sun-warmed Mediterranean. Mare Nostra, gentle in sunsets. And then she goes on to meet a group of locals. So I'm going to read a bit from chapter 2 where it's from the point of view of one of the people she meets. Pablo's body wakes him before 7. Pain forming behind his eyes, in his temples, reaching up into the forehead and back into the throat. He's sticky, a layer of sweat on him. Light forcing its way in through the blinds, sunlight full of swirling dust motes. There's phlegm in his throat, or something built up. He thought yesterday at work that he felt off, and here it is. He's working again today, nothing for it but to get up and make a coffee. He takes paracetamol, an effervescent vitamin tablet. Out of instant coffee, he resorts to a spoon of Guillermo's, who probably wouldn't notice if he used the whole thing. Pablo hasn't even seen him since last week, has no idea where he is. Which feels odd sometimes, like living with a ghost. There's traces, but he rarely meets the real thing. He's relying on this coffee for a lot. He has it in the sitting room, the couch right by the window, so the sun comes through the glass, hot even in the mornings. The heat of the afternoon is already hanging in the early morning. June in Cartagena, and it's hitting 30 every day. Climate change or just normal hot summer, he doesn't know. Work is always cool though, the air-conditioned fluorescence of the Mercadona, cool air keeping him and the crates of peaches at an equilibrium. Hungover or ill, which is what he seems to be these days. At least he's inside in the shade. His last job was in construction, but he lasted almost no time at all. Prefers this. Less of the macho stuff too, which he can't take seriously. He's picking up more English this summer, all the tourists, American girls and polo-necked English men. After the coffee, a glass of water with lemon. Brushing his teeth helps more than anything. He'll eat at work. The minutes calcify in the Mercadona. He feels pain, then less so, then feels it again. Caesar texts him at lunchtime, tells him they'll meet at the beach later. Pablo scraps his plans to go home and rot in bed after work. Thank you everyone so much for coming. I really appreciate it. To everyone who came, especially those who had to make a trek out from somewhere far from Kinsale. So thank you so much, and thank you to Simon for allowing us to have the event in here, and thank you to Dominic and everyone from the Writers' Centre, and thank you for introducing me, and thank you to my mother.
Freyja just said all my thank yous.
Bye.
Dominic. Simon and everyone, thank you so much for coming. And Niamh, of course.